Finally, the last stop on our tour today is seeing the underground exhibits of Robert Indiana, Sculpture 1958 to 2018, a collection which explores Robert's life and career as an artist. He was a major icon for his work since the 1960s. Over the course of his career, Robert's art revolved around a changing America in social and political behavior, personal histories including racism towards the LGBTQIA+ community, and freedom to express his thoughts throughout art. Due to all of this, the iconic love image is believed to be one of the most important creations of the 20th century. Okay, let's start from the left-hand side and work around. Here we have the Electric American Dream, Eat, Die, Hug, based off his past creations involving the four keywords as shown, with each having their own connection to him. Eat and Die were first used back in 1962 within his paintings. When his mother sadly passed away, eat was the last word she said, believing to be related to her past life inside and owning restaurants, and assuming she meant her son to have a happy, healthy life. After that happened, next we have hug and to come into the frame. Robert didn't want to live in a world with just eat and die on the plate, so hug to him represents exploring the more formal features of life. Existence, love, survival, sin, and so on. Lastly, we have Wait, excuse me. From the way I see it, the word has two similar meanings. Is similar to hug, except refers more to the morality, as he doesn't want you to, quote, go out and sin. Second meaning refers back to his time and or era. During this time, America and its people believed they could never make mistakes, and everything that happened within America was always the right path. Ironic when you hear about his life and the hateful slang the LGBTQIA+ community faced. Nailed it. Now, I'm not sure what inspired Robert with these wooden and colored columns. What I do know is the material used to make them was salvaged from the wreckage of industrial buildings long ago torn down surrounding Robert's studio. One piece in particular to my left is called ash, distinguished by the bold word ash printed on it in white and the upper cow skull. Actually, the letters were made using a stencil. The word ash is nothing complicated, it just ashes to him, and apparently the old timber is actually ash. I changed my mind, it is complicated. What else does this gallery hold? More of the wooden columns, this 3D display which reminds me of a canvas art covered in painted shapes and lines. The four numbers and their size, I'm theorizing, are connected to 1 through 0, the 10 numbers, from birth growing up. Yeah, I was going to say hippie signs, then I thought there's got to be more to this. Based on it catching me in a weird way, I'll definitely include anything interesting on my blog write-up. Alright, I'm going to head to see what else the underground exhibit has while I'm exploring. Robert's iconic love, red, blue, green, and 1 through 0 the 10 numbers, won't be seen up close due to mistakes I made. Relax, I'll include on my blog about these and why this is the case. So, after exploring as said, I discovered this gallery was bigger than I expected and found a room of historical island treasure, displaying the memories, iconic moments, and the history of his life. Everything written on this wall is a general sum up from his life growing up to his death. On the wall to my right reflects his most known works. Info from 1 through 0, art associated with the Eat, Die, Hug, category, and info explaining how he didn't expect his love art to bring forth the love generation and gaining major interest from hippies. Within the success of his first version and the growing interest across the country, Robert now describes the work as, and I quote, the very theme of love itself. Looking back to where we started at, the row of paintings are called decade auto portraits, with the work starting back from 1971 and completed in 1977. Now believing to be related to their colours, style and detail, Robert describes these as a throwback to his American Dream series of work. On the wall we have what appears a massive landscape photo size with Robert in his young 20s, 30s, and his workshop studio. Finally, back to the history board where I'll share a selection of moments from his life. Wait, excuse me once again. There's a lot, so I'll try my best to filter the sea salt, leaving the best parts in. From the start, Robert A.L. Clark was born on the 13th of September 1928 in Newcastle, Indiana. Later he was adopted by A.L. Clark, which was very confusing and coincidental, and Carmen Watters Clark, unless they changed their name to his surname. Due to the start of the Great Depression a year on after adoption, the father loses his job, which causes the family to continuously move around the country. By the time Robert was 17, the family had already moved location 21 times. Unfortunately, in 1938, Earl and Carmen divorced, and Carmen supported herself and Robert by doing jobs in little restaurants and street cafes. Years on, 1946, Robert graduates from Arsenal Tech and was able to make and edit the class yearbook. During the same year, Robert signs up to the US Army Air Corps to be accepted into the GI Bill, allowing servicemen with access to free education. 1949 was a big year for Robert. After 3 years in service, he discharged from the Air Force after qualifying for the GI Bill. Soon afterwards, he enrolled to the Art Institute School in Chicago, where he studied in painting and printmaking. Before that though, on the 17th of June, Robert was authorised emergency leave to visit his adopted mother at the hospital the moment before she passed away. 4 years on, during summer 1953, Robert attended classes in painting and sculpture art at Skogan after winning a scholarship. When September came, he sailed over to the UK to study botany, social philosophy, and English literature, thanks to the Art Institute giving him a foreign travelling fellowship. 1 year on, after receiving his first degree in fine arts from the Art Institute at Absentia, the GI Bill funding soon ended. Next he decided to return home. After arriving in New York late September, he had to stop there and rent a room due to low funds. A year on, still in September, he rented his first studio workshop at Greenwich Village on 61 4th Avenue. Then he moved from there into 31 Korean Thai Slip a year on. During his time in Greenwich, American civil rights started gaining momentum from the infamous activist Rosa Parks. Slight change in location now, in 1957, moved from 31 to 25 Korean Thai Slip, where he lived for the next 8 years. Also, you'll notice some sections will now be sliced up, they're not realising afterwards how the years flowed on this chart to try and keep it still going in order. 1958, another big year for him, started work on his 19-foot drawing Stavros' Crucifixion, which was the last ink and graphite paper art Robert ever did. After completion, Robert A.L. Clark changed his name to Robert Indiana, the surname being the same place Robert was born in. Next year on again, this time Robert becomes inspired into making his own sculptures from his time of teaching at a high school which makes model art from found materials. Next down the line, the turn of the 60s. From my perspective, the turning year where Robert's story would begin to become told. Indiana started his story with old beams from demolished local buildings surrounding his studio, presumed to arrive from the same wreckage. He also finds a collection of 19th century brass stencils, which sparked his new ideas on incorporating stenciled letters into future works. Indiana starts painting Election, inspired by John F. Kennedy's successful win as the next US president. Special mention from 1961, the year he completed his first edition of The American Dream from a previous piece repainted. His American Dream series became the centerpiece that connected the line between his previous New York paintings, which mostly consisted of the color black, to the more bright and colorful designs that he's known for today. Black represents his emotions of depression upon reaching New York and connecting to his own perspective of the time when America's perfect country was more darker back then, and most of the people thought this behavior was acceptable in society. Another special from 1962, Indiana starts using the word eat and die as an art piece appearing as two separate paintings, with words also appearing in a wide selection of paintings and drawings during 1961 and 1962. Robert's art, The American Sign Painters, gets showcased in Art News Visual Art magazine and is an early attempt amongst other representatives back then in defining a new art style in American painting, later soon known as pop art. At the Stable Gallery during October, Robert showcased his first ever solo exhibition featuring 4 paintings, some of which were seen were The Green Diamond Eat, The Red Diamond Die, and The American Gasworks. Jumping to next year again, Robert's first series of Yield Brother is made supporting the Peace Foundation to call for the action of nuclear disarmament. With the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in Dallas, Texas on 22nd November, Robert dedicated Yield Brother 2 to the loss of the former president, and was also seen from a collection at the Whitby Museum. Next, for 1964, the US Civil Rights Act is enacted, making it illegal to be racist or discriminate. The year also brought to life the iconic work that would later inspire or become infamous masterpieces. Followed next by a number series consisting of the numbers between 0 to 9, which would later on lead to the famous 1 through 0. The shapes were based on the business calendar, as we know, then modified to fit in the 10 canvas frames. Started another series, this time making a set of drawings of the word love. This paper drawing was made using graphite and different shades of what appears a dark red pencil. Upon looking closer online, I could see the initials of his first name, last name, plus the number 64, believing to refer the year made. Next year on now, Indiana completes the painting Alabama, part of his upcoming series, Confederacy. The name references the states that broke off back in 1861 to form the pro-slavery Confederacy nation, which led to the American Civil War. Realizing his current residence is soon to be torn down, Robert relocates to another loft to Spring Street. Indiana showcased his completed number series at the Contemporary Art Gallery, Galerie Schmelle, in Dusseldorf, Germany, making his first Europe solo exhibition. The collection consisted of Robert's 9 numbers plus 0 in their original forms before the year when Decade Autoportrait and 1 through 0 were made. 1968, a time of two halves, tragedy and commemoration. On the 4th of April, the world lost Martin Luther King to assassination. He was an inspirational spokesperson and leader of the civil rights movement. At the Museum of Modern Art during the 31st of October to 3rd of November, they held a memorial exhibition in honor of his passing. Robert added to the exhibit, Love Rising / Black and White Love, made and dedicated to his name. Happy 40th birthday, Robert! Oh, sorry. It appears I've missed it by a few years. Anyway, as part of this milestone, the mayor of Indianapolis declares his birthday, 13th of September, as Robert Indiana Day. Moving on to the next year, the US gay rights movement starts to gain attention, supported by Stonewall Rebellion of June 28, 1969. Once the rebellion ended, the aftermath led to the rise of the Gay Liberation Front, or GLF for short. During August time, Robert served as a visiting artist for the Painting and Sculpture School in the US state Maine. Somewhere during the time there, he met Elliot Elliston, a Life magazine photographer, who extended Robert's invite to said name again by allowing him to come visit his residence on Final Haven. While on the island, Robert discovers the Star of Hope Lodge, which Elliot then buys and rents the top floor to Robert so he can use as a studio. Spends an extra month working in his new studio to then return for a couple of months every year until 1978. 1970 also came with a very special career milestone. Robert Indiana created his first corten steel construct of his famous Love series with help of fabricating at Lippincott Incorporated. After arriving and being installed in its public debut in New York, Indiana soon realized people were climbing all over the construct. Although not what originally wanted, these interactions turned into great satisfaction for him as he realized, quoting from the artist, "It was quite obvious that everybody did love the love." In 1971, Robert begins the Decade Autoportrait series. Next to 1973, the US Postal Service commissions Robert's love stamp design to be made official. Once ready, the stamps were then circulated in advance for upcoming Valentine's Day. Of course. Minor mention. During 1978, Robert's landlord decides to sell off his property, forcing him out of his studio on Spring Street. Due to the lack of funds to purchase for himself, he decides to pack up shop and move permanently to the Star of Hope Lodge. Over a 5-year period, he then devoted to restoring the lodge to its former pride. The start of the 80s and a very special piece. Again, Robert receives his largest commission to date, 1 through 0, the 10 numbers, starting work this year and lasting until 1983. Each number was 84.5 centimeters tall, by 33.2 centimeters in width, and was made from polychrome aluminium. During years 1984 to 87 now, Robert's first exhibition, consisting only of wood constructs, is open at the Smithsonian American Art Museum. Patrick Nick, CEO of Final Heaven Press, opened the company doors for the first time. The printmaking facility will become Robert's main print workshop for the next 12 years. Robert next began working with Simon Salama-Caro from London, and later begins discussing the project Rob had in mind. Since the 1960s, Robert always visioned his Hermes sculpture made back long ago to be casted in bronze. 1998, something that actually surprised me upon learning. People were once making rip-offs of Robert's love artwork, leading to copyright problems. With support from the Morgan Art Foundation, Robert was able to put those long-standing issues behind him. Thanks to this, he started receiving revenue from the use of his artworks. Also, reflecting on his visit once to the Italian city Florence, Rob decided to start making plans to have the design of his love construct made into marble sculptures. Over the next 13 years, plus leaving the carving to Bottega Versili's studio, located in Pietrasanta, Italy, a total of 50 sculptures came out of the studio, made and carved under Robert's specific request for each piece. 2001, the year tragedy struck following the events of September 11. Returning to his home after witnessing the collapse of the World Trade Center, Robert worked on repainting his 23-foot high construction titled Zeus, then changed the name to Zero to honor Ground Zero. 2 years on, Robert's art began to reappear in New York again after years of absence. Cam Art and Paul Cassin Gallery agreed to share in showcasing the artworks associated with the artist. Cam features work dated between 1960 to 1970 and also organized 1 through 0 to be featured on Park Avenue. Meanwhile, the Cassin Gallery presented Robert's most recent paintings spreading over the last 5 years. Fast forwarding on to 2012, a new book called Robert Indiana New Perspectives was published through the illustrated publisher company Hat J. Kantz. Hey, seriously, do art worlds really have such complicated names? From within the book, Robert talks about how he believes that others around him have been pulling the strings on his art for years. At the heart of it all, he theorized Robert's current caretaker approved of new art pieces without him knowing, or instead tricked on account of his age and being away from close contacts. Quick example, Brat, short for breakfast, made for the company that produces sausages, including this type. On the 19th of May 2018, Robert Indiana sadly passed away at the respectable age of 89 within his beloved lodge. As arranged within his will, the Star of Hope Foundation, formed by himself back in 2016, is handed over the keys to the lodge and estate. The organization is a non-profit private entity who promote the art and legacy Robert left behind, while using the funds gathered from showcases to further enhance and maintain the foundation's purpose, which benefit the people of Final Heaven and surrounding areas. Aside from just locally, they also take the artwork and history of Robert and share it all over the world, just like with the one I'm present at today. In addition to all of this, after 2019 started, the Foundation's board team began major restoration work on the lodge, falling into disrepair. I'm theorizing on my research this was negligence from the same caretaker as just recently mentioned. I hope you're resting well on the other side. Oh, what's this? Wait, was Robert's Love Red Blue Green sculpture inspired by this? So the last stop on our tour today will be Robert's Love Wall sculpture. Robert took his love design, multiplied by 4, and then arranged them symmetrically to have the lower right face in the opposite direction, and the other two positioned vertically above the lower two. The piece stands at exactly 12 feet in height, and I'd say about a fourth of the same height, but in width. Upon doing my research, Love Ball was completed way after Robert's aluminium Love Red Blue Green was made, as seen back at the entrance. Based on its design, I think there is no explanation needed here for why the name is as it's called, other than, if so, why he wanted to make a wall of love. The metal used to make the sculpture is called corten steel, and I've also found it has a very similar property to copper or bronze. This form of steel, also known as weathering steel, was first made and manufactured by the US steel industry back in 1930. It's also the same metal the love sculpture in the underground exhibit had, as well as we were walking past the Asher sculpture. The name corten comes from the metal being naturally designed to oxidize and rust over time, which in turn forms a protective cover made up of different chemical elements. This new film provides incredible corrosion resistance to the elements. Despite lacking in colour, the steel has given his art a unique touch and appearance, and might have also been considered for self-preservation of his most favourite designs for future generations to come. Fun fact, despite making his first corten love sculpture back in 1970, 3D Love Wall wasn't made until 2006. A year on after completion, Robert took the same design and made a red aluminium copy of it. My research suggests that the piece's existence comes from the painting referred to in the Robert History Hall, made to honour the life of Martin Luther. With that in mind, the purpose of this work could be to honour all who have devoted their lives to our civil rights and freedom. My viewers, it appears the tide has come in. Thank you all for watching today's blog, and once again for checking out my website. Enjoy the rest of your... Ah, damn it. Where's my blueberries? Oh, damn it. I must have left them in the seizure exhibit. Don't worry, my blueberries. I'm coming. Stop the video.